near side, dangles around the defender, shoots, big blocker save. And now we're going to get some fisticuffs thrown around here. Oh, we're back. Another episode. So this is episode number 4. We've done 3 position players so far, but today we are here with the man who's responsible for stopping the pucks. The big man himself, McLean Dorr, is here. McLean Dorr, I should say, we just had this conversation.
Die hard.
I know, exactly. So we just had the conversation, folks. It's McLean Dorr, not McLean Dorr. It's McLean. So when you see it, you see the word clean in there. So the first question, how often do people make that mistake?
Every time.
Every time?
It's going to be, yeah. It's something I'm used to now.
Do you get annoyed with it, or is it something that's just like, oh, you know what, it's okay?
No, because it's a hard name.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been saying McLean on the broadcast, so I have to do a little bit of different prep for the next few days. But welcome in, guys, to the Blizz Show Podcast Player Profile Edition, brought to you by our friends out at H&R Block. We really appreciate you guys watching on YouTube and listening on Spreaker.com. So as mentioned, McLean Dorr, hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, home to the dominant Pittsburgh Penguins, we can put it that way. So, first of all, big game tomorrow against the Aberdeen Wings. So, just kind of, you played there in the preseason game. Just kind of describe what it's like to play in Aberdeen and how excited you are to go back there tomorrow.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Whether you're making a big save or you guys score a goal, it's a fun environment. Some people are kind of intimidated by the away barn or like the crowd, but
Right.
I love it. I feed off it.
That's good. Most people do thrive. When I was playing, I was thriving off those road crowds, so I loved every second of that. But so, McLean, you are from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, born and raised there. You obviously, I'm sure you had a great childhood being able to go to a Pittsburgh Penguins game, maybe seeing Mario Lemieux, and obviously you're a goaltender, so you were looking up to the goaltenders more than anything. But just kind of describe for the audience what growing up in Pittsburgh was like, what the highlights were, and just your favorite parts.
Pittsburgh's great. I grew up going to the Pens games. We had season tickets, so I was like always there, always wanted to watch.
Nice.
There was a lot of situations where I'd have like a goalie skate, and then the way back we'd go and see the last like 2 periods of the Pens game.
Oh,
so
really?
I was kind of surrounded by hockey. Remember, I wasn't always a goalie. I grew up and I was a skater. And I was watching the Penguins on TV, and I saw the goalie, and I was like, can I do that? I was a little kid. I was like 3 or 4. And my dad was like, sure, because he wanted to be a goalie when he was little, but his dad wouldn't let him. So. And
I'm sure in the back of his mind, he was like, no, McLean, expensive equipment. And it's like, oh, man, the equipment's going to be expensive.
At the point, he was like, we could like borrow gear. So he was like, okay, like we'll see how long this lasts. But I just kept playing that.
And that was something I wanted to ask you later on. But since you brought it up, I'm going to ask it already. Has it always been goaltending? I mean, you mentioned it at first, you wanted to start doing skating, but once you realized that you wanted to be a goalie, has it always been that way, or have you thought about going back to a forward? So describe that a little bit.
No, actually. When I was a goalie, I was only a goalie because we didn't really have a good one. So I was like, okay, I'll jump in there. And I was better. I don't think I was very good. But I love playing player. Like there were situations where we'd play like a not so good team, and I'd jump in the player so I could score and feel good about myself.
Yeah, exactly.
But it just kind of became like I played more and more games as a goalie, and then eventually I just made the switch when I was like, I think 6.
So you mentioned going to Pittsburgh Penguins games. I know I've talked to a lot of guys like your Jack, your goaltending duo guy. He had season tickets to the St. Louis Blues, and a lot of goalies really seem to have that kind of connection with their hometown team. Jack told me he watched Jonathan Quick whenever he came into town. He always was watching Jake Allen. Was that the same thing for you when you started going to Pittsburgh games? Did you watch the goalie for Pittsburgh? And at the time, I forgot off the top of my head who it was at the time, but was that something you always did when you went to Pittsburgh games?
Yeah, so when I first started going, it was Fleury.
It's
been Fleury for a long time, so that's kind of like who I've watched and who I've wanted to style my game around. And I'm lucky enough, my goalie coach, Shane Clifford, he actually taught Fleury and worked Fleury for the Penguins, so I kind of got to play with his style and look at him like that.
Wow. Marc-Andre Fleury, goaltender extraordinaire for the Vegas Golden Knights. How do you feel about him in Vegas, by the way?
I like that he's playing games.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, but Matt Murray's doing good things for you guys. So
yeah, no, we have a great goalie.
Yeah, exactly. So people you looked up to the most when you were in Pittsburgh were who?
So again, with my goalie coach, we had a lot of guys coming back that he taught. One of them was John Gibson, who now plays for Anaheim.
Yeah, that's right.
But I grew up and he would come to the camps and work with us and stuff. And I kind of watched him. I kind of want to play with his style. And even to this day, I still watch film on John Gibson and I like that, or I want to do that too. So I kind of like to incorporate stuff from his game into mine.
And just to give you more validation on that, I was talking to your goaltending coach this morning on the fact that you got nominated for the watch list for the scouting combine, I believe, if I said that correctly, the watch list, which we'll get into in a little bit. and he said your game is a mixture of Carey Price and John Gibson.
So when I first came to play for the Brookings, or like their first trial camp, the coach said that to me, and I was like, wow, like that's a big compliment. Like Carey Price is one of the best goaltenders in the NHL. So I'm not so sure about that. I want to look like him. Yeah. So I'll take that compliment and run with it because I love it.
But neither of them catch right-handed like you do.
They don't.
I'm just kidding.
They don't. Yeah. I like it. I think it gives me an advantage because shooters look at me and they're like, oh, I don't know where to go.
Yeah, exactly. It's not found that often these days. And the Blizzard have two of them with Caruso and yourself. So really, really interesting stuff there. So you kind of jumped around from high school to high school when you were growing up in Pittsburgh. You mentioned how you kind of were in Wisconsin at one point. Just describe your high school process and also how that related to your hockey career in high school.
Yeah, so I started off, I played for a team in Cleveland, oddly enough, and I was recruited in a tournament in Chicago to go to this prep school in Connecticut called Avon. So I went there, and 2 years was great. It was a great experience. I was a young guy in the team. I wasn't going to get games till senior year, so I was like, I want to play college hockey. If this is what I'm going to do, I'm probably going to have to leave the school. Yeah. So I left to pursue an opportunity in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. I went to a school called Edgewood High School, and then from there I played for a club in Cleveland next year, and then Pittsburgh the year after. So it was kind of this weird circle.
Yeah.
But it ended up being good for me because I got to experience, living away, kind of dealing with that kind of stuff. So it was good.
That's what I wanted to follow up with. The question was, obviously at a young age that has to teach you stability and kind of just being an independent young man at such a young age. That really seems like, because you seem like a really mature young man for your age. You're 19, correct?
Yeah.
19. So for a 19-year-old, you got a strong head on you. Was that, do you think that's in part because of the fact that you experienced early on being away from home, being in different places? Did that have something to do with it, you think?
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't always like this.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a good experience. Yeah, it definitely made me who I am and helped me with that.
Okay, absolutely, man. So when you were with the Pittsburgh Penguins Elites, that's the big thing that I wanted to talk to you about, being able to play with the same affiliation as the Pittsburgh Penguins. When you have that same name, you're playing basically in the same arena at the Consol Energy Center, essentially.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you, man? Because that just must have catapulted you to new heights.
It was really neat. So our facility is the Penguins practice facility, and their locker room's just down the hall from us.
Yeah.
So their guys would walk around and we'd just see them, and it was really kind of cool to be around that kind of environment and have a lot of high quality players around us.
Do you have any funny stories to share that Penguins players might have told you or something like that?
There is a situation. One of our players who's kind of an idiot, I won't name his name, but we were all hanging outside our locker room, and Chris Letang's a pretty big guy. At the time, he was -6 for the Penguins.
He's an intimidating guy just from the looks of him.
Yeah.
He's a small dude, but he looks intimidating.
Yeah.
No offense, Chris, if you watch it, if you get your hands on this.
Especially if you're a U18 hockey player. You don't chirp Chris Letang.
Yeah,
but he was walking past our locker room, and I hope he didn't hear it, but this player who, again, will remain unnamed, he said something to the effect of you're -6, and he just kept walking, and I think we fined him for that, but it was really unfortunate. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we all kind of felt bad for that one.
I think the moral of the story is make sure you know when to open your mouth appropriately, especially when you're talking to a guy.
Remember where you are and who you're around.
As intimidating as Chris Letang. Oh, boy, I couldn't even muster up the gum for that. So.
Yeah, I could have no filter.
So now we are here in Brookings here in the beginning of October. The season is just getting underway. You've played in 2 games this regular season. You kind of been able to acclimate yourself with the community here in Brookings. Just kind of tell the audience what your experience has been like here with the Blizzard so far and your relationship with the city of Brookings and the fans.
Brookings has been great. Right away they kind of threw us into a lot of volunteering. So we did the car wash or the fueling for gas, which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Just kind of being on campus, we get to use the wellness center, which is killer.
Yeah.
So we get to kind of be part of the community, interact with the students and stuff. It seems like our team does a really good job of kind of putting us out there too. So they get to do a good job of recruiting fans for games and stuff like that. So it's a fun environment.
What's been your favorite part of being here in Brookings so far?
Just the day-to-day schedule. I don't really have time to sit down and play video games all day. We get up, go to the gym, go to the rink, lunch, maybe some film in the afternoon, and then after that we take a team meeting or team event. You
don't seem like the video game playing type. Just from when I spent time with you, you seem like you're the kind of guy, like you mentioned, you like to sit and study film. You're locked in. That's just the kind of impression that I get. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and when I do play video games, it's not good. So I like to stay away from that as much as I can because even when I do, it just frustrates me. So it's best to.
What's your game on video games? What do you like to play?
Right now, it's Fortnite.
Man, I don't play Fortnite, but I don't buy into all
I'll give you one more.
Let's hear it.
Battlefield 1.
Okay.
It's either one or the other.
Okay. I mean, not Chell, not NHL. Do you play that?
I'm terrible at that too.
I'm terrible too. I haven't played in 4 years, but
I
played Israel a couple of nights ago, and I told him that was the first time I played NHL on a video game in like 4 years, and he beat me 2-0. Only 2-0.
Okay, yeah, my score was a lot worse.
Yeah. And granted, I was the Coyotes, and I'm a Coyote fan, so
interesting.
They're not very good on the video games.
Interesting, yeah.
Unfortunately, but that's the way it goes. So you get to Brookings, you did your main camp, you had a great main camp, and you only allowed 1 goal for goodness sake in main camp.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. So just describe before you got to Brookings, when you showed up for main camp in July. You met Rob Liddell, you met Mo Mantha, you met Jack Caruso, you met Cam Babiak, everybody on the team you met. What was your immediate impressions when you were surrounded by the boys and the coaching staff at main camp?
So Brookings, it was kind of funny. So Dan Garno gave me a call after my season, and I was hurt all season. It was kind of tough because I was getting a lot of looks early on, and then I was hurt until the playoffs basically. Yeah. So for me, it was really tough to get teams to kind of rally around me. So getting that call, I was like, okay, here's my chance. I went to the pre-draft camp, went to the goalie camp, went to the main camp, and every time I was there, I was like, this is what I want to do. Yeah. Going to the main camp. It's funny, the night before the main camp, I had a dream that I didn't make it.
Oh,
and
man.
I got really upset.
Yeah.
I got really upset. Yeah, I was like, no, I'm going to do this. So I went out there, and it worked out pretty well for me.
It did work out for you. That'd be a severe understatement.
Yeah.
So you're one of the top goaltenders in the NAHL as far as I'm concerned. So it's clearly worked out for you. But, you mentioned you suffered an injury. I want to talk about that for a minute. So describe what that injury was, who you were playing with at the time, and just what that overall experience of being injured taught you.
So I came back this is early in the season. I came back from a big showcase in Michigan. I played really well, and we had an optional skate the next day. I was like, all right, I'm going to go have fun because I like skating. I like to be on the ice. Yeah. So I went out there, and last drill, I was kind of messing around, and I leaned too far to my right, and I think I tore a few ligaments in my right ankle.
Oh, dude.
So it was bad. I had to, get off the ice, and there were actually a scout called me. I won't say what team, but one of our rivals, and I had to tell him I just got hurt, which was interesting, and that was tough. So I spent 3 months recovering, kind of getting ready for to come back. And the first game back, I did it to my other ankle.
What did you learn about yourself the most throughout that process?
I learned that I like to keep myself busy.
It's a good thing to learn.
During that time, I couldn't skate for 3 months or 5 months if we count the whole season. So I just spent a lot of time. I went to the gym. I went to all our team practices, whatever I could do, like fill up bottles or tape sticks. I was just, trying to keep myself busy. I read a book or two, which is really unusual for me.
What book did you read?
I read a few books on mental toughness and stuff.
Okay.
One of them's Grit. I forget who wrote it, but it was really good.
That's good, man. For a 19-year-old, you really seem to educate yourself really well. So I think that's encouraging. And if mom and dad of Mr. Dorr watching this, then they're really happy about that. I noticed that. So he's doing a great job, mom and dad. He's been doing a tremendous job, to say the least. So you've played 2 games this year. Let's get back to the present here. So obviously you take on Aberdeen tomorrow, but you played your first game here on last Saturday against the Minot Minotauros. It didn't go very well, so we don't need to talk about the game too much because you did allow 6 goals. But playing in front of the crowd is what I want to focus on. What was it like being able to play in this arena for the first time after spending a month on that ice just practicing? What was that like?
At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what's happening on the ice. So it's fun to have a crowd, and you want a good home crowd because it's fun if you do something right and hear the cheering and stuff. But at the end of the day, you have to perform on the ice, and if that doesn't happen, you're not going to get fans. Yeah. So we're kind of in a position right now where we have to earn our fans' trust back, which is tough, but we're going to do that. What
has Mo Mantha told you over the last few days to realize, hey, we do need to gain the respect back of our fans. We need to get people in the seats.
Watching and kind of competing in practice, it's been battling. Every drill, it's like 50-50 battle. You got to win those. For me, it's every puck, because even though it's a really difficult shot to stop, if you stop that, that's one less goal, and that gives our team just a little bit more edge in the game. Yeah. So even if it's going to be a scenario where it's like, this probably isn't going to happen, you got to make it happen.
Last question here before we get into some fun questions, a little rapid fire. Jack Caruso is a really great young man. You guys are a great tandem 1-2 here.
Yeah.
You got a really good system going here. Mo Mantha is a tremendous coach. You got great defense. You got scoring. You guys could beat any team on any given night. What do you anticipate as a team? Two-part question. One, as a team, what do you want to do the rest of the year to eventually get to the Robertson Cup? And B, what are your own personal goals for you to be able to walk out of here and go, wow, Brookings was a tremendous experience?
It's kind of one answer to that. It's just win games.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's why everyone's here is to win games. So if we do that, then we get to the playoffs, and then hopefully it's the Robertson Cup. But it comes down to winning games.
A competitor, folks, at heart, and that's exactly what colleges are looking for. So great answers right there, McLean. So just so you guys know, before we get on to the rapid fire, the support for the Blizz Show podcast is brought to you by our friends out at H&R Block. You guys know I love talking about H&R Block here with you guys. Now, the tax reform, it is going to affect everyone's next tax return. If you don't want to be surprised at tax time next year, make sure you guys go visit H&R Block in Brookings and Watertown to find out how it's going to affect you. And as mentioned, if you are in the Brookings or Watertown area, new clients can go see Wayne, and make sure you tell him Weston sent you, the voice of the Blizzard, and you'll get a 25% discount on your first tax preparation. H&R Block in Brookings is located at the University Mall, where a lot of people know where that is because it's a small town, and word gets out fast. So ask where the University Mall is if you don't know. That's where H&R Block is located. And for more information, call 605-692-5715. Again, that's 605-692-5715. So we're talking to McLean Dorr here, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania product. By the way, I did have to ask you, in that preseason game that you made that tremendous save, I did have a tremendous call. Pittsburgh, stand up. Did you get any feedback on that save, and did you get any feedback on that call?
I got a lot. So a lot of my close family and friends posted that on their social media stories, and I got a lot of texts and stuff saying this is crazy, this is so cool. And a lot of them didn't see the video to it because it was down at the time.
Yeah, Hockey TV was down that night,
so
unfortunately.
They were asking me, send the video. So I eventually took a video of the film and sent it to them, and they were pretty excited.
And that was the highlight of the game because that was a really tough night, obviously, with what happened to Shane Hathaway. So
it was. So we got a goal early, and it was 1-0, and I was really excited because we were in a away barn. I mean, it's Aberdeen, it's a rival. It was 1-0. They got a good bounce off of a power play late in the second, and then it was a 1-1 game, and that save kept it tied at 1-1. And then a few bad bounces later, we dropped the game to Aberdeen. But it was exciting. It was good to be able to make that save and keep our team in it.
Yeah, I know I mentioned we're going to get to rapid fire in just a second,
Sure.
But since we brought it up, for tomorrow against Aberdeen, what's going to be the big key for you guys tomorrow to go in there and beat them in their barn because you've experienced it once already?
D-zone breakout.
Okay.
If we can get that puck, control it, and get it out of our zone, that's going to be the biggest thing because they like to play the body. It's going to be a physical game. It's going to be probably a lot of penalties, and if we can stay out of the box and get the puck out of our zone quickly, that's going to be a pretty big factor of the game.
Blizzard and Wings, the game will be on Hockey TV. Puck drop around 7 to 7:15. You can hear that on Hockey TV. I will be on the call. All right, enough business for now. Let's have some fun with these rapid-fire questions. 5 questions. First thing that comes to mind. He has not seen these. He's not heard of them. He's just going to answer them straight up. So what's fun is, guys, with the goaltender, for the first 3 episodes, I haven't been able to ask about goaltenders. Now, the goaltenders are a little bit of their own fraternity, so I can have a little fun with these goaltending questions. So I did have a lot of fun prepping these questions. So number 1, the best goalie in the NHL is who?
John Gibson.
That was fast. You're just saying that because he was a comparison? Is
No.
that why you're saying that?
No, John Gibson's gross.
Okay. I trust your better judgment, man. I trust your better judgment.
100%.
Which goalie has the best pad pattern in the league?
Eddie Lack.
Wow. He's fast. Nice. Okay, Eddie Lack. Explain so obviously you can't pull it out and you can't show, but what is Eddie Lack's pattern that makes it so cool?
I don't know. It's different than anything I've seen.
Really?
And it's I don't know. It's just, it works.
Do you want to have a pattern like that?
The pattern I went with this season's a little different. Obviously, my pads haven't come in yet, but I think next season I might have to look at that because it's cool.
On a follow-up question, I talked to you. Since I already asked you this question, you can tell the audience as well. I asked you a couple of weeks ago. I said, when you're playing NHL and you're playing on video games, and the goaltender has the wrong color pads, or the pad is not exactly what it is in real life, does that really bother you if you're playing NHL?
It doesn't.
You know what? I forgot. You're a Fortnite guy. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I don't play enough to have that.
Okay. Question number 3. If you could trade places with anyone in the world for one day, who would it be?
I think a fighter pilot.
Oh, really?
I've told my parents I want to fly, and they don't like it because obviously planes are dangerous. But
Yeah.
I think to like fly one of those things would be really thrilling.
Don't worry, Mama and Papa Dorr. He's a goaltender. He's not going to do that. Has a movie ever made you cry?
I don't know about cry, but like pumped up, emotional. I like Interstellar a lot. Like Matthew
good
McConaughey
movie.
like killed that role.
Yeah, he did.
He's probably one of my favorite actors too. So I love that movie. And I love his character in it.
I will openly admit I still cry all the time to the ending of Fast and Furious 7 because that's when Paul Walker
Paul
died.
Walker's
So.
the man.
Did you cry when that happened? Did you ever see that?
I did see it. I don't know if I cried, but I was like, oh shoot. Like,
You don't seem like much of a crier, so I just thought it was a good question.
it is a good question. Yeah.
Last question here before we get on out of here. The big fight, there's a huge fight that's happening in the UFC. Now, a lot of the guys, surprisingly, are UFC fans on the roster, and it's nice to talk with the UFC because I do part-time writing for SI and Fansided. So the big question that's been asked around the locker room, and we're going to be watching this on the team bus after the game on Saturday, Khabib or Conor McGregor, who do you got?
So what I'll say about that is like I think the reason a lot of people are aware of UFC is Conor McGregor. His personality, his brand, he's reached out to like so many different people and has been able to create such a following that I think he really brought a lot to the brand, and I think I like him for the fight.
He definitely is somebody. He's marketable, and that's why people of our age like to see marketable people like that, and to go in there and to back up his words. I think that's what makes it so interesting. But that will be watched on the bus, and that will be fun. So make sure after the game on Saturday, get your stuff, get out of the locker room, and get on the bus because we got to watch the fight.
Yeah, I'll be out of that locker room quick.
Yes, I got it. Awesome. I can't wait for it, man. McLean, really appreciate your time, man. Thanks for coming on. First time at the podcast. How do you feel it went?
It's fun. It's kind of weird to like hear myself talk.
It is.
I like that, but it's a lot of fun.
But you know, you're a goaltender. Do you talk to yourself at all down there during the games?
Sometimes I'll like hum and like catch myself. I'm like, this is weird. Goalies are weird.
I was just gonna say these goalies. You know, I mentioned the own fraternity thing.
Goalies are weird.
You guys are weird,
yeah,
but you're smart. You're a smart fella. So you know your parents raised you right, and you should be proud of the way you're carrying yourself. So good job, man.
Hey, thank you very much.
And good luck tomorrow as well. There's McLean Dorr, folks, the goaltender extraordinaire for the Brookings Blizzard. Jack Caruso will be on in a couple of weeks, so we'll get both goaltenders soon. Don't worry. We'll ask more fun goalie questions for Mr. Caruso. But for now, until next time, we will be back for another episode of the Blizz Show Podcast Player Profile. We'll see who tomorrow's is. It's going to be fun. But Weston DeWitt here, McLean Dorr. We are out. See you guys next time.